Picture a world where a secret that could change the future of money all over the world is hidden in the Congress' normally quiet hallways. Imagine a room that is not open to the public, but is deep under the Capitol building and protected by steel doors, high-tech security, and a few lawmakers who have been called into a classified meeting. A talk starts in this room that could lead to the biggest change in the history of money if it ever gets released to the public. Project Liberty is a government program that shows what might happen if the US used a distributed ledger like XRP as the basis for a new system for settling digital transactions. Today, we will pretend that these leaked papers are from that exercise. As we go through them, you will see why, in this case, experts say the result is nothing short of nuclear for the world of cryptocurrency. In this imagined scenario, the first page of the simulation's paperwork has a bold red seal on it that says leaked, and the text is thick, technical, and urgent. It begins with the idea that the US financial system needs a new structure because it is under pressure from global economic competition, digital threats, and equipment that is out of date. Not just the usual methods like ACH, SWIFT, and the ways banks have used for 50 years. The idea of a digital dollar bridge, a system that would connect the US dollar with new digital currencies, fast transaction systems, and USDTS, liquidity hubs that make it easier for people to trade dollars with other currencies, is talked about by lawmakers. The models show that the XRP ledger is fast, efficient, and neutral. It wouldn't replace the dollar, but it would be an unseen layer beneath it, speeding up all the things that the current system has a hard time doing. The meeting goes on as lawmakers hear from economists about the problems with global transfers. They point out delays, fees, and weaknesses, which are issues that spread into the real world and affect everything from business trade deals to regular people who bank. In this made-up situation, a financial analyst then comes up with a big show. He shows off a fictional digital dollar bridge and talks about how a neutral settlement layer could cut costs and improve liquidity in real time. He says that this isn't about cryptocurrencies, but about improving technology, just like the internet improved conversation without changing language. As soon as he talks about how well these simulations show efficiency gains, a few senators lean forward and become interested when he says that these changes are so great that they could save the government billions every year. But this is where the room changes. In this made-up world, a Treasury whistleblower who is in the dark and can't be seen says that the results in the deeper layers of these models are even more shocking. He says that internal modeling shows that if foreign governments, global banks, and private institutions all use the same bridge system, the increase in liquidity would make a lot more people want the base settlement token. In this imagined world, analysts do not make predictions, but rather do extreme range projections of the most optimistic scenarios, outlining what would happen if XRP became the main way to move money across many different financial systems that are linked together. Most forecasts are cautious, but a small number of rare and theoretical cases are so optimistic that one chart, which is in the appendix, shows a very high speculative valuation of $1 million per unit when the best possible world saturation is reached. The chart is ridiculous and mind-blowing, but the numbers are logical according to the simulation's rules. As the senators take this in, the meeting turns into a heated argument. Some say that just the exploration of such a system would make the markets unstable. Others say that there is no difference from studying nuclear fusion. It has power and can be dangerous, but it is also needed. The fictional chairman demands silence by banging his gavel and reminds everyone that this is just a simulation. Even so, the strain is clear. A change that could simplify the movement of trillions of dollars a day would without a doubt change the balance of power around the world. One senator says that China, Europe, and private companies are already testing digital platforms. If the United States is unsure about what to do, it could lose its position as the world's leading economy. Another senator argues that using that kind of technology could cause effects that can't be predicted, like quick changes in the value of assets, liquidity shocks, and fear around the world. The room is split into four groups: defenders, doubters, radicals, and innovators, all arguing about a future that hasn't happened yet but feels like it could happen any moment now. A very thick folder, as big as a textbook, is open near the middle of the table. The section name, Projected Economic Turbulence During Transition, can be seen. Everyone in the room stops talking. This part of the story shows what might happen when we go from the old system to a new digital one for settling payments. As banks in the game merge accounts and move reserves into digital compatible forms, they get ready for short-term liquidity freezes. The made-up situation shows how things might go wrong, including brief halts on outgoing transfers, liquidity bottlenecks, and more volatile markets. These problems aren't meant to be hurtful and they won't last. They are just things that happen when you change from one method to another. But the effect is so big that it makes the senators ask questions. What would normal people do if their accounts had to be put on hold or if there were problems with processing? What would happen to markets that are used to having their assets instantly convertible to cash? Could such a change make people worry before the benefits were clear? The made-up whistleblower now says the most shocking thing in the whole situation. He says that if this system were put in place and people weren't ready for it, the public could think that normal delays in the changeover process meant that it had failed. His warning echoes in the room. All politicians know how easily public trust can be lost. Even small problems in internet banking can cause a lot of trouble. The chairman cuts in, telling everyone that this is just a simulation and that no real action is being taken. There are no real policies being put into place. There is still no decision. The officials still want a deeper look. They want to know how to reduce this kind of pressure that causes so much trouble. The experts suggest that people be contacted directly, that things be made available to the public in stages, that there be test environments, and that there be multi-stage integration timelines. The mood changes again when politicians understand that every future system, whether digital or not, will have the same problems. As the last part of the fake papers unfolds, the room gets tense when something called phase liberty is revealed. This part looks at what happens when the digital dollar bridge links banks in the United States as well as banks in other countries. When you use the same settlement layer across borders, you create a web of linked systems that can move money, fix liquidity, and sync payments. In this case, when adoption grows, the amount of money in the market increases, and this effect builds on itself. Where greater involvement makes things run more smoothly, and greater efficiency draws in more players. A lot has changed in the world economy by the time the game is finished. Borderless liquidity moves like electricity through circuits that are built on cryptographic tracks. In this made-up scenario, the US gets a big leg up because it controls the digital norm that everyone else has to use. This is where the crazy price charts come in, not as forecasts, but as examples to show how extremely large-scale use could change the amount of tokenized liquid supply available. From here, the story gets more intense as senators think about the effects on global politics. Some people say that this digital design would help the United States stay ahead of new economic rivals. Others are afraid that it would make countries that want to get around US sway angry. In the simulation, defense officials say that if digital rails become the new battlefield, power over settlement layers will be used as a weapon. Cyber attacks, liquidity manipulation, and digital spying are all new battlefields in the 21st century's invisible fights. The situation quickly goes into talking about agreements, partnerships, and ways to keep people safe. Legal professionals look at problems in the Constitution. Economists argue about inflation and deflation when settlements happen very quickly. Bank officials are asking people to accept it slowly. Technologists support new ideas but also warn about weaknesses. The made-up meeting quickly turns into a series of arguments, each one more intense than the one before it, and each one showing a new side of the complicated future that could be in store. Finally, the leader ends the meeting after restoring order. Even though it is just an imagined scenario, the game makes everyone there feel uneasy. They have seen a similar world in which digital technology changes everything, in which moving money is as easy as moving data, in which cash can be accessed from anywhere, and in which money loses its borders and its power changes in every direction and without warning. The lawmakers leave the room quietly, holding on to folders that look like they contain plans for a future that could come about or could never come about. The make-believe tipster goes missing in the dark. Analysts fold up their charts, including the crazy $1 million estimate that was hidden at the back of the pack. A chart that will spark argument among people who are brave enough to think about what technology might be able to do in the future. Outside, the world goes on as if nothing is happening. Even the hypothetical storm forming under the city isn't noticed, but the effects are still being felt. If something like this was ever thought about, how would countries respond? How would prices change over time? How would people get ready? Even though it is made up, the program shows basic facts about how technology gets better. Systems don't change in a way that is hard to notice. They change in waves, with sudden changes and